looks, I was going to say this, and I should have said it before you said all that, but it looks different behind you, like lighter, like, yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's partially why I said, let's go for a walk tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yesterday. Because I'm like, I need to go hug some trees.
Yes, seriously. I saw that you're hugging trees. I thought, good for you.
Yeah. I made my husband hug a tree too. I'm like, come.
Mm-hmm. Seriously. They need to join us. Join us on the crazy side.
Yeah. So he hugged one. He wouldn't hug I only hugged two. Because I was trying to look for ones that the dogs weren't as prominent around. So I'm like, I'll go hug one that probably hasn't been peed on as much.
Yes, as much. Yeah. Further, deeper into the woods.
One that didn't have snow tracks around it.
Yeah. Seriously. No, it's all good. I mean, got to do what we have to do. I mean, it's crazy energy. And even if you don't realize you're feeling energy, we all do.
Yeah.
And I mean, you just kind of have to, sometimes you just need to sit.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like you do need to go for a walk. And it's amazing when you start moving. Because I know both of us were saying we need to move more. We have to do stuff. And I know I've been putting a concerted effort into movement. And it makes a huge difference. Even just a little bit. Like, you know, you go and get the mail or you walk around the block or... And here where we are, it's like super freezing. So it's even more for us to go. I know it takes a lot of courage and energy and to go do it.
That's why I said, let's go, because it's sunny out. It's cold, but it's sunny out. Let's go.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm like, if I don't go, I'm going to... I knew I needed to go, but I was exhausted afterwards.
Yeah. Well, you released all of that and then you took in that healing energy of nature and it has to percolate. It has to heal.
Yeah.
So you do need some downtime.
Yeah. Well, that's what I figured. I thought I need to, after having that, sort of that healing and that release of people.
Yeah.
Right. I better go and do something in nature and release in that way. And
you should jump on the scale. I bet you lost weight too.
Oh, I don't want to find out. I doubt it because it was my mom's thing, which I was good most of the day. And then I'm like, I start seeing, I like look through the memories and I'm like, I'm like, I think I'll post that one. I think I'll post that.
Well, and it's part of the healing too, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all part of, when I saw those coming up, I thought good for her, right? Because it takes a lot to, I mean, there's good things about Facebook, a lot of bad things, but, and I mean, those memories can be triggers when they come up.
Yeah.
And even if you're aware it's her birthday, you know, it still triggers you to see the photo, to see what you posted. And yeah, seriously. Yeah.
And I was feeling good, but then I'm like, I said to my husband, I'm like, okay, you know what day it is, right? And he's like, you didn't know what day it was. And it's also my childhood friend's mom's birthday. They share the same birthday. That's why one of the posts says, I hope you're having cake with Maria. And then I was like, okay, I need to have some cake.
Well, totally. You need to celebrate it. So, right? Like, yes.
So my husband, he's like, well, we have boxed cake downstairs. I could make that. Okay. I said, but we don't have any icing. So he went and got some icing.
There. Well, and you had cake, right?
Exactly.
You have to celebrate. You have to mourn. You have to celebrate.
Yeah.
And you have to just acknowledge
exactly
those feelings. And you know, it reminds me of it's got nothing to do with that, but it just reminds me of the cake. Reminds me that when Rupasi, my daughter, found out that like it was Christmas was Jesus's birthday. From the time she was like 2, we had to have a birthday cake on Christmas Eve. Like we would go to like the grocery store and get a grocery store birthday cake, and she would get them to write "Happy Birthday, Jesus" on it. And you know, as you know, I'm not Christian and my husband's Hindu, so it was kind of, you know, strange for us to have a Happy Birthday Jesus cake. But that doesn't matter. It's fine. That's what she wanted to do, and so we would do this and. It was like a celebration, and she would talk about like, you know, what do you think he's getting for his birthday and things like that. And, you know, it was cute because it's a celebration. It's celebration of if your mother hadn't have been born, you wouldn't be here.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I mean,
yeah. Well, and the whole thing with the ancestors, because
yes.
I felt like because of Jacob coming through, I felt, oh, I need to have cake because I need to celebrate the past ancestors. Like, I just felt like I needed to do that.
And this is a time, this is like, I've noticed in a lot of people that are, that we follow in our circles and stuff, there's a lot of ancestor stuff coming up. And I know for me, there has been, because I've been digging through all of that stuff, like
Me
personally.
too.
Yeah. And I know you have, but there's a lot of stuff coming up that's tied to ancestors and releasing. And if we can release, it clears the path for our children and their children and so on. And we carry so much of that imprinted in us, imprinted in our chakras, imprinted in our DNA, and we don't even know why sometimes or why we react to it. And I think, we're very blessed because we can channel it and we can ask the question and we get an answer and we can connect. But I think it's very important that people not dig up this, but work through it, that really try to heal from it. And sometimes, like we were just saying, it's not us in this realm, in this time frame, but it could be like ancestral past life. It could be any of that, but we have to kind of put a stake in the ground and go, okay, moving forward, I'm dealing with this. And this is not going to happen again, even in our 3D world, even in our present time.
Oh, for sure.
To stop the stuff that's happening, that continues to happen, or the beliefs, that we've had. So,
yeah, that's one of the things I've felt driven to do is on behalf of the ancestors in the last few years to really clear all those things and shift them.
Yeah, and you've done a lot of work on that. Like you've even gone through and like researched your ancestors and found out where they're buried and gone and visited and stuff like that. And I think that's really important because in this day and age, we don't have that connection.
No,
we don't have those the kitchens where everyone gets together and it's just a Friday night and the whole family and the cousins and we don't have that anymore. We're also split up all over the world, and well, especially now we can't physically get together, but still, we don't know the history. We don't know it. And I can speak for myself, and there's some things going on in my life right now, and there's a relative that has come up and she needs help. And so we're helping her, but I don't know anything about her. And I've been struggling because I don't know. And I've had contact with this woman for a good part of my life. But then, for whatever reasons, she was no longer in our lives. And now she's back in because she totally needs help. And of course, we're family. We will be there to help her. But I don't know anything. And I feel like there's a piece of my history that's just been blocked, like there's a wall, and as I am helping her and I'm learning about her, I'm learning about me.
Absolutely.
And I think that's like so important, like just things that you're just shaking your head and asking questions like, why would this happen and why? But there's a reason for all of it. There's lessons in here for everyone.
Absolutely.
In my family, as to why and what's happening here. And to not have it happen anywhere else. Or to break that cycle of silence where we don't ask for help.
Exactly.
Or whatever the thing is.
We're and knowing the balance of when, asking and asking in a genuine way as opposed to in a sort of a needy way or a narcissistic way.
Totally.
And knowing that for yourself as to when if someone is asking, to differentiate the two.
Like going back to the having the healthy boundaries, like knowing for yourself when you go, wait a second, this is not help. This is someone who's looking for air quote free ride, or looking for they feel they're I don't know, entitled to this or whatever, and they come after you because of your goodness and your kindness. They go, oh, you know what? She's really spiritual and kind. I bet you she'd give me cash, or like it's like I'm on a hit list or something. And someone, calls for one reason, But there's a hidden thing that's underneath.
Exactly.
And as you know, that's happened to me recently too. So not with the same person, but with other people. And you're right. It's stepping back and looking at yourself and why are they approaching you?
Yeah.
And is that good or bad? And is it what if what's happening is about you versus them? So
Exactly.
if you can identify them, like title them as a narcissist or whatever, then you know your role in that relationship, and you can see if you're a victim or where you've, I don't know, kind of been a victim. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but
what's the lesson, and what are they mirroring to you, or what are they projecting on you? Totally. So it's really sort of, differentiating when someone needs genuine help, and really what it comes down to is you're learning discernment between what kind of boundaries you need with that person and what are they mirroring to you.
Yeah, totally. And that is it. I mean, and then it's creating the healthy boundaries when you realize what is going on and what, like I say, what your role is in this whole thing. So, yeah.
And even if if someone's genuinely coming to you for help, knowing what your limits are, and it's not that if someone's not necessarily someone's overstepping, but it's knowing what our own personal limits are, what we're capable of doing, that it's not at a detriment to ourselves.
Totally. I think a lot of times as humans, especially when you're in the healing profession, you do, like I've always said, I think I have too much hope for people. And sometimes I have more want and hope for my clients than they have for themselves. And it's a fine line. It's a fine line to be there to hold space for someone and not get, especially if you're empathic, to not get involved in that, in that feelings, those feelings and stuff. So the healthy boundaries are so important. And just what you said, I mean, knowing when, time out, I can't help here. Like it's got nothing to do with me. This is bigger than me, or this has got, like you say, nothing to do. And
or just knowing, I've got to go fill up my cup before I'm able to do any more for you. Because somebody may need extra assistance at certain times, but you also have to be able to, and mentally, physically, emotionally be able to do it. Because if your cup's not full and you're just giving from an empty cup, then you're not really helping.
Exactly. And you can feel that too in yourself. It's when you get angry. It's when you're triggered by those lower chakra emotions, like the solar plexus and the sacral, that feed into that fire and that anger that you have. And you're listening to someone and you're getting angry, and there's no reason to get angry. It's not an angry conversation. It's just, that's when when you're empty, when you're tired, when you're, exactly. And I mean, I think now, especially, like, maybe we're not physically moving and we're sitting in a lot of mental sludge with all of this, like stay-at-home orders, wherever we're at in the world, there's all these different rules. Life has changed. Life has changed completely. And the light at the end of the tunnel is there. It's probably pretty dim for a lot of people. I'll speak for myself. It's dim. I can't see it as bright as I used to. But I don't lose hope in it, but it does affect you mentally and emotionally. And when you're overwhelmed, when your headspace is not clear, I mean, you're going to react. You're going to react to things, to situations where you never would have been triggered before.
And one of the things that's sort of been crossing my mind is because a lot of us are sitting in one place. I know for myself in this chair, doing a lot of work, and particularly for healers who are being stationary in one spot. To really, I really need to get diligent about clearing my chair, clearing the energy in my chair, because it's stationary. Like
Yes.
there's no movement in that chair.
Yeah.
So it needs to be cleared.
Yeah, along with the room space around
along with
you.
the room space.
Yeah, the actual physical chair. Yeah, yeah.
Physically, the chair
sense.
and the desk and things need to be cleared far more often. I do clear them, but I don't think I clear them as often as I need to.
Yeah,
is what I'm getting.
And how do you clear it? What do you do to clear it?
Sometimes I use sage. Sometimes I use my bell. And I'll grab my bell. So this one's.
Oh yeah. Chakra. Yeah.
Go around and clear. So I use that. Or I also use my selenite wand.
I have one too, right here.
So, clear myself.
Cast good spells on people. Yeah, I mean this is a godsend. I mean, this selenite is amazing. I mean, I have this sitting here right with my, like where I work. It's just, and sometimes I do it over the computer. Sometimes it's just sitting right next to it. I also have another piece like sitting on my cards. I have pieces behind me. I have like, I feel like I'm grounded or wrapped in it. It's such a healing, well, it clears everything. It's just,
and it's a self-clearing crystal as well.
Yeah. I always, when I teach the crystals, I always talk of this, like the Hoover, it's the Dyson kind of the crystal world. It just sucks in everything. If you have anything going on, if you just, even if you're on a business call or something, you can hold it and it just clears everything out. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and especially if you do, even if you're meditating, it's a great way as you're releasing. If you're journaling and you're releasing, it's a great way to
absolutely
get out of the energy. Yeah.
I was using it the other day because I was listening to a call, but because again, I've been sitting so much, muscles in my face were tense, and I was just sitting there
that's a good idea.
Massaging my face because it's rounded end, right?
Yeah, as long as it's not a pointed.
No, the rounded end. I'm like just massaging and loosening up.
Yeah.
It felt good. I thought it's nice and cool and.
Yeah, I mean it's a great crystal. I mean I'm looking around. I've got it like everywhere. I've got it everywhere around me. It's a really good crystal. No, it just, I don't know. It's just so calming. It's just very peaceful. It's just very, like you say, it's cool. It's cool to the touch. And it just, I don't know. When you touch it, just, you almost feel like it literally just detoxes you. That's how I feel when I work with this. And it's one I think that a lot of people have and they don't realize what it's for, because they make lamps out of it and stuff. And it's very similar to the Himalayan salt kind of thing that detoxes. And a lot of people have the lamps. And as you heat up the crystal, it obviously increases the vibrational energy and puts that, through the room too. As you see, I'm very good at detoxing. I've got these everywhere too. I've got my lamp behind me. But I mean, those are simple things you can do to shift your energy. So like the sound, even if like you had the bell, I have one, I don't know exactly, it's probably behind me. I have like the crystal bowls and stuff like that. You don't have to get that fancy. I mean, you can go on YouTube and look for vibrational energy music, and you can find stuff to clear negative emotions, to get rid of headaches, to help with pain in your knees or whatever, right? Like there's everything on there. And even if you're playing that and you're doing housework, or you're playing that and you're reading, or you're at work, if you can do that and put your headset on or whatever, and you're working and you're playing it. I use it a lot. Like, I do a lot of writing and I do a lot of advertising marketing, and I wear, like if you were coming into, like I'm now working from home, but in the physical office, if you were to come into my office, I have my headset on and I'm listening to that high vibrational creative music.
Me too.
And sometimes it's just sound. Like it has, like, it's just like, I can't even describe it, but like a high pitched sound that you stop hearing after a while and you're just typing away. There's no words to the music. It's all vibrational energy. And you feel like before I write anything, be it an email ad for advertising or my own book and stuff, I clear myself around and put on that music. And it's just so, I don't know, it's just so peaceful. Or if I'm feeling like something is triggering me and I feel that, like, why am I getting angry? Like, oh my God, like, why am I feeling like this? I always have my cell phone. I will listen to that and kind of shift. Even if you don't understand why it's happening right at that moment. But it can clear your head. It can clear your head so easily.
Absolutely.
And I know
especially when you're trying to shift that energy, when you're trying to accomplish something, but you know that you're started to shift. Either you're getting tired or there's just other energy around you, or it's chaotic energy and you just need that clearance. It just helps to shift it so that you feel more relaxed, more productive when you need to be productive.
And I never thought that when you mentioned it, I never thought about clearing the chair. The physical chair. I think that's awesome. That's a great idea, because I've sit in this chair constantly. And I clear the space and I clear myself, but I've never cleared.
But
and think about it.
It's heavy. You're sitting on the chair. It's everything.
Well, it's anchoring you too. It's tethering you. So if you sit here and ground yourself, you're tethering yourself to the chair, to the earth. So the chair is getting it too, right? So totally. Totally.
And I would say, I would say the floor beneath it as well, because it's, it's completely connected in that spot.
I place Himalayan salt on the floor. I place it at the door frames. Like if you look at, I can't see it behind me, but at the door entries, just in the corner, it's not this big. It's like a smaller piece. And every door frame, like, because we're all home working. So my husband's in another room working, and he's got a piece by his, and my daughter's in her room working at school, online school. So she's got a piece there, but we put it and I just find, because you're coming and going, you're clearing that space, and it just sits there. And again, it's like a tiny little piece. It's not a big chunk, but I have it on the floors. And then I also, of course, have stuff in four corners, but that's like a whole other conversation. But just to clear, like as you walk through, and if you're in your office and you're working and you're frustrated, that energy is in here. I know once on Sunday mornings, I go through the whole entire house with sage, because we're all home. We're all in this space. And, the energy does, I find, I don't know about you, but I find by the end of the week, the energy in the house is I'm feeling like a little edgy, because I think the vibration is just getting heavier and heavier, because we're all home, and it's just not that we're all fighting, but you have like a lot of conversations, like work conversations, school conversations, maybe arguments, discussions, things like that, right? And that energy, if it's not literally cleared,
and you're having more people invited in your house in a different kind of way, right? So you are having those personalities come through, right? So even if it's through the computer, there's still that energy transfer.
You're right.
That you need to clear that as well, because it's coming through in your room, but it's also you're taking it on, and especially for an empath, you're taking on, because you're facing the person, and you are basically going heart to heart, because most times you are at this level, so your heart to heart is exposed, and you're immediately making a connection.
Okay, so I'm going to back up, because you've said the word empath a couple of times now. So for those people maybe that are watching it that don't know if they are an empath, maybe you and I can talk about some of the signs, the signs as to how you're an empath, or could be potentially. And I think, but I will say, I think it's an overused word. I think a lot of people claim to be, and they're just maybe sensitive to emotion, and that's a little different than an empath. But I think it's the start of it, right?
And there's empath and there's highly sensitive people. You can be extremely sensitive to foods and um, like scents and things like that.
Yeah.
So some of that can be more of a highly sensitive person. And then as an empath, you can have that as well, but you're picking up a lot more energy from people, from things. Uh, you might, and there's different types of empaths too, as to what you pick up, and you'll just sort of find out what your strength is. I know for me, like I've always been an empath, but I didn't know it until I was working on one of my performers. And I didn't know until I overheard a conversation that she had our car accident something like 8 months before.
Right.
But I was taking on her health issues where I never had lower back problems, but all of a sudden I did.
Okay.
And my hip was reacting, and I had to go to the chiropractor to get it adjusted because when you're doing makeup and hair, you're physically
you're touching someone,
the person, and you're picking up all that information. And so I took on her energy and took on that. So that's when I realized, I think I was in my 30s, I think, when I discovered that that's what was happening.
Yeah. And I know for me it's slightly different because I don't know if I'm technically an empath. I'm not really sure what my title is. I pick up on things, but slightly different. So empathically, I can sense, like I feel it. I don't necessarily take it on physically, but I feel it, and I know things that I shouldn't know. Like I feel it more than, it's hard to explain. Like I feel it more than I can say, you've got lower back problems. I would sense that there's something wrong with your lower back, or I would see a series of slides in my head of what happened to you. Like, and I know nothing happened to you, but I would see you, in this case, I probably would see you working on the person, and I would know that it's not coming from you, but it's from them. But I would feel your pain. I would feel your pain, but I wouldn't take on your pain. However, with that said, when I first was attuned to Reiki, no one told me that how easily it would be to transfer, like you're saying, touch. Like when you physically touch someone to work on them, no one told me how easily it was to transfer that energy. And that's when I took on other people's stuff. When I actually physically touch them. And I know for me, it can be as simple as when you know that you're taking on the energy of the room, or the person you're talking with, or the person you're coaching, or your friend, or whatever, and or you don't even know why, and you're coming home and you're angry, or your back hurts and there's no reason. I know for me, I have to be very cautious of, what's mine stays mine, and what's yours stays yours, kind of thing. So like when I teach Reiki, that's one of the first things I do is teach people, before you lay hands, before you lay energy, before you step into someone's energy, you protect your energy. And then you say, I'm going to keep my ailments to myself, and you keep yours, kind of thing. I even do that, like even with family members, like with my own family, when I'm working on them. And when you forget, when you forget, that you, darn, I forgot to do that. Right. So you feel it. Right. And I think too, like empathically, it's heart chakra connected. So if you do, and it may not be that because they're your kids or your husband or your mom or your dad or whatever, it's not that type of heart chakra connection. Like you and I are not related in any way that we're aware of. And we met at a retreat. I don't know how many years ago, 6-7 years ago, I think. Maybe
like
it's
2014, I think. 2014.
Okay. So what does that make it? Do the math. I'm no good at this. It's a test. Was that 6 years ago, right? 7 years. I was right. 6-7 years ago. It just came to my head. So I'm going with that. And we just chatted, I think, over tea while we were getting a cup of tea or something. I don't know, right? Like it just happened. But for me, I'll speak for myself. I feel this huge heart chakra connection to you. I have no idea why. I don't question it. And there's times when I reach out and you go, how did you know? And vice versa, you reach out to me. And that's an empathic heart chakra connection.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And in most cases, it's not with your family members. It's with others in your tribe that you've met along the way, or that you're supposed to meet.
Yeah.
And then I know for us, there's been so many similarities that it's strange. Like we have some really, like when we started talking, we were kind of like, seriously? Like some of the things that we've had happen and the situations we're in are very similar. So I think, people are supposed to connect, and maybe that's why we feel the way we do about a certain person.
Because I think you're supposed to help the other person along on those, you may be going on similar paths, and by connecting, you're able to help each other through that path.
Totally. And I think we all obviously have our own journey. We're all here to have an experience, whatever that's supposed to be. Some of us are here for a short time. Some of us are here for a long time. Right. So, it's like, I just got in my head, I'm starting to sound like Amanda Ellis. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Was that Trooper Hot Shots or something? That's like an album. Anyways, I'm just kept hearing that. Here for a good time, not a long time. Just have a good time. Sun's gonna shine every day. Like I hear that in my head. I don't know why. Anyways, I digress. But yeah, I mean, I think we're all here for a reason in the journey, but there's all these, like, we have a path, and then there's all these little tributaries off of the path that allow us to diverge out and hopefully come back onto the path. Some of us diverge out and never come back. Some of us are maybe on the tributaries and never hit the path. But I think, like, the way I see it in my head is I'm reincarnated over and over again to continue to follow this path, whatever that path is. And as I go out and come in, I may stay stuck in this part. And when I come back, I'm going to hit here, and then I'm going to continue until I get to that nirvana kind of, I'm energy and I don't have to come back. So that's kind of in my head what happens. And I think we meet people on that journey, exactly what you said, to mirror back to us, to help us, for us to help them. And sometimes it's as simple as letting someone cut in front of you because they have 2 items in the grocery line and you've got a whole cartload. Like that might be the sole purpose of you meeting that person. So
just to help them on that particular day.
It's like I had this experience going through a drive-through where it was my husband and I going through a drive-through, and they said the order cost X, and he was paying with my ATM card. So he tapped the card, and they, they said thank you or whatever, and they went and were doing the order. And then she came back and she said it didn't go through. And I thought, well, that's weird. So we gave her the card again. She tapped it again. She goes, great, that went through. Okay, she gives us the order. And in my head, I said to him, I said, I think we were charged twice. I see 2 orders. I see two transactions on my card, and never, I said it out loud, and he's used to me saying things like this. He went, oh, okay. And I never checked it. And so then a couple of days later, I'm on the online banking for whatever reason. There were 2 orders. There was our order, and there was another order for like 12 something. So it was probably like an individual meal, right? Like a burger, fries, and a soda or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I paid for that person's meal. Like they double charged me. Like they charged me twice. And then I thought, because at first I was like, oh my God, like that's just like, oh, I hate when that happens, And then I thought, hold on a second. You pay for the car behind you. It was a single person. Obviously from the charge, it was like a 1 person. And it's funny because I remember looking behind me and seeing this young girl, like probably 20, 25 kind of thing, younger person in this car, and it was late at night. And so I obviously paid, I think I paid for hers. And I'm thinking to myself, like, maybe by paying for her meal, that shifted her whole day.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I didn't do it purposely, but somewhere the universe
Mm-hmm.
knew that she needed that help.
Yeah.
She needed someone
Yeah.
to extend a hand, as simple as it was paying for her burger and fries.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
somebody had like, and then I thought so much differently about
Mm-hmm.
shifting that energy. I don't know why I'm
Absolutely.
digressing onto that, but it goes into that whole, you don't know why you cross someone's path. You have
Mm-hmm.
no idea what effect you have on their lives
Yeah.
and their energy, or why you're
Absolutely.
feeling their energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I've had people who've popped up just for a second, and you turn around and you're like, where did they go?
Mm-hmm.
And it was purely just to shift something.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
It kind of makes you realize the power that you do have as a person on this earth right now, and your energy, and how your conversations and your words will shift this. And empathically, like we've kind of digressed off the empathic part, but empathically, I think it's when you feel those things, when you don't know why you feel that, or why you feel the need to help, or why you like shifting that energy. I think it's acknowledging and just doing it because you want to do it. You feel it's a good thing to do. You know, there's no, you're not getting a reward from it or anything. And I think empathic people don't realize the power they have.
Absolutely.
To shift the energy. A lot of people look at it as a burden, like, oh my God, I feel everybody's emotions. I have to like protect myself. And I remember I had a student once that came into like my physical classes, and she was extremely empathic, and she would protect herself so much. And like I said to her, after 5 or 6 times she had taken different courses from me, I said, you're protecting yourself so much that you're not experiencing anything. It was like she was protecting out of fear, because someone had her so convinced that being empathic was a burden. And it was like, because you feel or you see things or whatever, you have to like totally block the world to function. And it made me very sad. It made me very sad that someone had her in a state of fear over this great gift that she had, that she could shift it. And I know that she's gone on and she's shifted that through a bunch of stuff that we've done together, but it took a long time. Like, I mean, she would be the person that if she didn't have like 12 grounding medals on of some sort, she would go back home. Like she would physically go, I can't go do this. I have to go get the 13th one because that's what I need. And she would like do that. I've had her leave my class before because she left something in the car that she needed to ground herself. And I'm just thinking, like, if you empathically, you do have to learn how to ground yourself. You do need to use things like the selenite and stuff to clear your energy, but you can't freak out if you don't have it. You know, like if you don't have it to use.
No, and you just need to know that you've got many different tools, that if you don't have a physical tool, you have a way to transmute that energy. And that's what empaths are. We are transmuters. We transmute we transmute all, and I've switched from saying negative to not saying non-beneficial, because it feels better to me now. So we transmute the non-beneficial energy into a more beneficial energy.
Yeah.
And that's part of our job, is to transmute energy.
So if you were in a situation and you didn't have, I don't know, a grounding, let's say you just, you go to answer your front door and you don't have any, like, you just have a t-shirt and jeans on and you don't have any of your crystals and, all that kind of stuff. And something like the guy delivering it is obviously going through this huge issue personally, and you pick up on this, like you feel that energy. And then after he leaves, you feel this like the air is being sucked out of the room. What do you do? Like, what are you doing to immediately?
Do you mean after the fact?
Yeah.
I would just visualize.
Okay, so let's back up. You just said after the fact. What do you do prior to answering the door? I guess.
Well, if I was in the mode of thinking about, I better do something, then I would just imagine being in a bubble of white light before I answered the door.
That's
if
what I do
didn't
too.
think of it, then after I closed the door, I would, just send love to them, send love to me, and cut the cords, and just visualize those being cleared, and just, saying what's yours is yours and what's mine's mine. And just send them peace and love, because obviously they're in a state of
like you're picking up that energy.
Yeah. Because there can be stress from work, or you're delivering, you're on if you're on delivery, particularly now, you're on a deadline to get as many things out as possible, because a lot of people are shopping online.
Well, and that's, I was using that as an example because that happens to me like daily. There's a delivery of some sort, food, Amazon, whatever. And so you're constantly in, like, they're breaking the protective bubble that you may have around your house or around your life, and they're stepping into that space. And I think it's like, it's different than in the office or when you're at work. It's different because now they're in your personal space. There's more people coming to your front door, and in your personal space. And so, so when you say cutting the cords, I'm going to make an assumption that you visualize like anything that you've attached yourself to is literally cut. So a lot of people use like Archangel Michael's sword, and they see that going down. A lot of people just visualize scissors cutting through it.
And I do it a number of ways, and sometimes I will just ask for any cords of attachment to be released, with love and light, to the person, and then to myself. And one of the things that I've taken that you have said is to seal the cords, because otherwise they're open. And then I go with sealing them with love and light. And my thought process is always, if someone has, let's say, I'm going to say negative energy, I don't like to send back the negative energy without, my philosophy is send it back better than it came.
Yes. Agreed.
As opposed to just, let's leave them, if they brought in crap, let's leave them with the crap. I'm like, why is that beneficial?
Yeah, that's not
right. To me, it feels better to say, okay, let's cut the cords and leave them feeling better, because maybe that was the thing that they needed.
Yes.
So returning the energy to them, but asking it to be transmuted to love.
Yeah. And I'm going to go back to what you said about the healing the cords or sealing the cords, because that is something when I teach it that a lot of people don't do. We cut, and it's like pruning. It's like pruning too much. Like we cut and we cut and we cut. And if you think about it, if you cut something, if you don't, I'm going to use, like, this is like maybe crass, but cauterize it. If you don't seal it, if you don't stop it, like it, if you've cut a vein and you don't cauterize it, you'll bleed out. So it doesn't
matter. Trees as well. Like trees, when you do cut a thing, often if you're cutting back quite far, you need to put some sort of sealant on it.
Yes. I did that to my tree out back. Like I had to cut it and cut it and cut it because of an infection. And I mean, every time I cut, I said, I'm so sorry. I send love and light. I'm so sorry. I send love. I mean, I'm sure the neighbors thought, what the heck is she doing out there? But then I had this spray stuff that you sprayed to seal it. So it didn't weep out. It didn't and you do need to do that when you cut the cords. We're so quick at cut that. And then we need time to heal. So also too, if you're cutting cords, no matter what way you choose to do it, is doing it slowly. Like cutting a cord from someone that, handed you a package is completely different, obviously, than cutting cords from someone you've built a huge relationship with that you now need to create a healthy boundary from, and you now need to cut them literally out of your life because it's affecting you in other ways. Like let's say a past relationship, a past love or something that you just really can't get over, and it just keeps coming up and you keep wondering, what if, and if I've only done that, and that you need to cut out because that's going to keep you stuck and harm you in other ways. So I mean, it's cutting strategically
Mm-hmm.
and slowly. It's not like I spent 2 hours cutting it. They think of it as a rose bush.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to cut that rose bush for 2 hours, you'd have like this like gnarly little scruggly little thing, and it would die. Because you can only, even when you're pruning a tree, you can't prune the whole tree at once. It
No.
can't handle that.
No. And
So
you have tons of cords,
mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm.
know, and some are thick and some are thin. Like, you know, I've seen the cords that I've had, you know, going through like a shamanic journey. I saw millions of these golden cords attaching to the ancestors.
Yep.
And I'm like, you got to pick and choose what, you know, because I think you can feel like if you've cut them all, you're free falling.
Yes, because you do need to be tethered to something.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just, that's what I mean about the pruning. You can't keep cutting and cutting and cutting. And you're right, you free fall. You feel, you want to feel alone, just slice them all off. Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, and if somebody's done that, they will come back, because like there's things that will come back. So if someone's done that and thought, oh my God, I've done that, I've cut them all, it's cool. Like, don't panic. Like you can get them back. I mean, I always.
But you may have had a hard couple of days after that.
Totally. Because you need to heal. You need to wrap them. You need to seal them. You need to heal them in the green, golden healing light. You need to call in any of the energetic healers that you have a relationship with or a connection to, and you need to help heal. So it's kind of like detoxing. You wouldn't start a detox regimen, a 5-day detox regimen, and, you know, continue to keep like your regular appointments. So you wouldn't be, you tend to go internally. What I'm trying to say is you tend to go inside, and you know you're going to go do this detox of like maybe it's a drink or liver detox or whatever, and you're not going to go bar hopping while you're doing a liver detox, right? Like you're going to stay home, you're going to make sure you have bubble bath, you're going to like you're going to help
do gentle be gentle with yourself during that time. And
totally.
do it a bit at a time too, you know, because it gives you time to process. Right? Because you want to process if there's particular people that you're cutting cords with. I mean, there's some cords that you don't even know that you have. But you could do, I would say, cords that you could do easily and quickly if you were doing many cords would be to do at the end of the day. Anybody who I have cords of attachment that I came into contact with through moments today, whether it be through a phone call or through shopping or whatever, those are minor cords that you just sort of can clear quickly.
Yeah, easily. Yes.
You know?
Yes.
They won't, to me, they wouldn't need to be sealed in the same way because, you know, they're threads as opposed to a cord.
And that's what the cords are. The cords are literally, if you can visualize it, it's every thread, and maybe we shouldn't say cord of attachment. Like it's a thread. You're right. It's a thread. And then the more you develop that relationship, it becomes thicker and thicker and thicker and becomes a cord.
Yeah.
So like if you were to meet someone and, you know, you let them go in front of you at the grocery line, that's a thread, right? But if you were to meet that person, let them go in front of you at the grocery line, had an amazing conversation with them, that thread becomes slightly thicker. If you were to, same thing, let them go in front of you, have an amazing conversation with them, you then go out to coffee and you become friends, that cord is thicker again. And as time goes on, it's thicker and thicker and thicker. So if you come to a point where you have to sever that is now a cord, that's a little harder to do. So you're right. To your point, the everyday, along with your gratitude of the day, if you're laying in bed, you have a saying or a mantra that you say to sever the cords. I think that's perfect. Or in the shower, like if you're showering every day, you can do that along with releasing the negative energy. You can cut the cords, you know, with water or whatever. You can visualize them, you know, being cut. So yeah. I mean, that's important. It's important. It's important to do that.
Yeah. It helps to clear it helps to clear a lot of that every day, especially if you've had experiences that have been not so nice, you know, driving to work and someone cuts you off.
Yep.
You don't want to keep that energy with you.
Yeah.
So you just imagine releasing that cord or cutting that cord, and sending it back with love.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's important. What you said is sending it back better than it came to you, sending it back with love, sending it back with healing energy. And I agree with you. Sending it back the way it was is kind of nasty. It doesn't really, spiritually, it doesn't make sense.
It's never felt good to me to do it that way.
Yeah, but that's what there's a lot of
Yeah.
teachers and books that say you
Yeah.
cut it and send it back to them, right? Without the healing. I teach it with the healing because I just think it's better.
Well, because
why not leave this place better than you came in, right?
Exactly. And what if that was the one experience that might have been the thing that shifted something for them?
I agree. Yeah. Again, like, paying it forward and looking at the incident in the drive-through where I paid for someone else's food, like, you don't know. And I truly believe it wouldn't have happened, because how many times does that happen? Not very often. So I have to believe it's happening for a reason. There is a message there. There was a message there for me. There was another message for that person. And you have to just hope. You have to hope by helping people that, it shifts. If we all did one nice thing today,
exactly,
who knows what would happen, right?
Exactly. And that's beneficial for both of you, because you feel good and the other person feels better.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's a win-win. All good.
Yeah.